Shrewsbury Township Board of Supervisors order. Stand and join us in the pledge to the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I appreciate you all coming out. Welcome to the meeting on this nice July evening out there. A couple of announcements before we get started. If you didn't get one, agendas are available in the back of the room. We do record all of our Board of Supervisors meetings, and they will be posted on the Township website. Written minutes will also be available on the website once they're approved by the board. Any individual here has the right to record these proceedings, but you must announce your intent to do so at this time. And there will be 2 opportunities for public comment. A policy for that is attached to your agenda. After being recognized by the chair, we ask you step forward to the microphone, state your name and address. With that, we will have self-introductions of the board. Supervisor Rose is not with us tonight. He's out of town, could not be here.
Ann Weiser.
Art Rutledge.
Paul Solomon. Jeff Reynolds.
And then to my left is our township manager, Todd Ziegler. Our solicitor for tonight, Mika Driscoll. And helping out in our minutes is Hayden Walfus, did I pronounce it right, Hayden? Who is with us for the summer, and kind of pinching in for Wendy Brown, who is out for on vacation this week. With that, we'll go to the agenda. And the first thing we have on the agenda is the approval of our meeting minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve. I'll second that motion.
Are there any questions or comments on the minutes? If not, we shall vote. Shoot first tonight. Aye.
Aye. Aye.
4 votes to the affirmative. The minutes are approved. Todd, does it help if we announce who makes a motion in a second? Or are you ready?
He's good.
Okay, just wanted to make sure. Next up would be approval of the treasurer's report. Any questions or comments?
Hearing none, I'll make a motion to approve.
All right, we have a motion. Any questions before we vote?
To save time, I'll vote yes. Among other reasons, by the way.
All right, then we'll vote, Ann, unless you have questions.
Aye.
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 5 votes to the affirmative. So we have, I'm sorry, 4. Only 4 people here tonight. You're right. Keep me straight. We've arrived at our first opportunity for public comment, and just to facilitate schedules of a couple of people, we have an officer with us in the state police tonight. If you would walk up. Thank you for coming.
Absolutely.
We appreciate that.
So I'm Corporal Moan. I'm with the State Police in York. Our barracks is just up the road in Loganville. We typically come to the township meeting a couple times a year. I don't really have a whole lot to present. I'm just more or less here to answer any questions you may have. Just to give you guys an idea of the type of service that we do for Shrewsbury Township. It's a relatively busy township in our coverage area. Since January, we did approximately 1,100 calls in Shrewsbury Township. And just so you know what I mean by 1,100 calls, that doesn't mean 1,100 people called 911 or called our barracks. They could be those type of calls, or they could be self-initiated calls, such as a traffic stop, or a patrol check, or some sort of stationary enforcement check, something like that. So out of those 1,100 calls, some of those are ones that were initiated by the troopers. It wasn't somebody dialed 911 or somebody called the barracks with an issue. But I would say it's probably 50-50 in that realm. But being that Shrewsbury Township is close to the interstate, Shrewsbury Township has a lot of businesses, such as the shopping centers down by the interstate, stuff like that. We do get a good bit of calls, but we're decently staffed at York, so we're able to service your township pretty effectively and pretty efficiently. And with that being said, our hope is obviously to do the best we can for the township, and we feel that we do a pretty good job. So with that, just a reminder, As far as ordinances go, I like to mention this to all municipal meetings I go to, just so everybody is reminded. Any kind of ordinances that the township puts into effect, unfortunately, the state police can't enforce, but obviously any kind of criminal element or possible criminal element, crashes, stuff like that, we're there to take care of. But if you call in and you're told that it's a civil issue or it's an ordinance, that's why you're being told that. But if you still need to see a trooper, by all means, tell us and we'll come out. It's not a problem. Does anybody have any concerns or any questions or?
Fireworks, do you answer issues on fireworks and the new regulations statewide?
So we do. The new regulation says that that it can be a criminal offense if certain things apply. So fireworks are kind of a hairy thing. Sometimes we do and sometimes we don't. So what the law says that basically concerns us is if somebody's under the influence and they're using fireworks, that's a crime. And if fireworks are being set off within 150 feet of a structure, that's a crime. I'm not going to stand up here and say that every time you call us on the 4th of July about a firework issue because your neighbor's setting off fireworks within 150 feet of your house, that we're going to come out and give the person a citation. Because if I were to tell you that, I would be probably not telling the truth. But the perfect answer is that yes, we can. A lot of times, at the very least, if we're not going to initiate any kind of criminal proceedings against that person, we'll at least come out and try to tone the situation down. I mean, from my perspective, I live in a development and my neighbors set off fireworks. I know it's a little tense for you to go over to your neighbor, maybe three houses down that you don't know well, and say, hey, knock it off. It's easier for somebody like myself, who's kind of independent from the situation, to come out and address the concerns. But we do enforce the firework law. Any other questions?
Approximately what percent of your business is related to Interstate 83 and Exit 4? Roughly, depending on.
I would honestly say Exit 4 itself, probably not that much. I mean, we certainly get calls there, we get crashes there, we do traffic enforcement there, but I wouldn't say it's an everyday, every shift problem. Now I know from time to time, like let's say this past weekend, I was working and for whatever reason, the light coming off Exit 4 southbound, they had it blinking, which like by 11 o'clock on a weekend, that whole intersection is tied up with the lights working normal by themselves. So we call the construction company and they turn it back on. I don't know if there was a problem or they did that intentionally, but it's not as, that exit isn't as big of an issue as what it may look.
How about the interstate itself?
The interstate, I mean, you watch the news, it's hit or miss. It really isn't terrible.
So it's not a big percent of your calls.
The interstate is a big percent of our calls, but when I say it really isn't terrible, it's not, I mean,
You're worse.
I'm trying to decide how I want to say it. So we get used to a certain call volume. So we're kind of used to the interstate being busy in general. So the interstate is a large portion of our call volume as a whole in all the zones that we cover, all the areas that we cover. But I wouldn't say it's a huge problem in general. Like there's days where we have our issues, like Memorial Day weekend, there was that fatal crash in Shrewsbury Township, right around mile marker 4, right before that exit that you're talking about. And obviously that day, it was bad. So the traffic was backed up, and which caused other areas of the township to get backed up. But the interstate does tie us up, but at the same time, the way we allocate our manpower on a shift by shift basis, it's not, I wouldn't say it's that much busier than another area that we might cover.
The point of my question is that Shrewsbury Township is relatively peaceful. I mean, Interstate 84 is like a separate entity It doesn't really interface with the township other than someone running 65 miles an hour.
I would say, maybe this answers your question better. So I would say in relation to Shrewsbury Township, we're busier off the interstate than on the interstate. Does that answer your question?
And particularly with the shopping center.
Shopping center, but we get a lot of criminal calls, thefts, burglaries, criminal mischiefs, stuff like that.
In regard to the entire township.
Like, I don't know if you guys saw recently, there was maybe a month or two ago, time goes by so quick, it might have been 2 months ago, there was somebody breaking into a whole bunch of cars. It was in Shrewsbury Township, but then it was also in Shrewsbury Borough. I know Southern New York Regional was dealing with it as well as us. We finally did figure out who that was, but I would say our busy part of the interstate is more so north than it is south.
Thank you.
Todd, have you ever contacted them about, or request a little bit stronger enforcement on that area of Mount Airy Road?
Yeah, I just called to the 428-1011 number, yeah.
I did mention those, and I did see a cruiser
Yeah.
sitting there for a good while today, so I thought maybe you had.
No, that's been a while ago, though.
Yeah.
Well, the entire board appreciates your service.
Absolutely.
Really do. Thank you.
Did you have it?
No.
Well, thank you very much for coming out, and more than that, for your service in general.
Absolutely.
Keep us safe.
And if you guys ever need anything, guys or gals, call the station, 428-1011. You don't have to call 911 to speak to us. You can call that non-emergency line, and we have civilian dispatchers that answer the phone. So if you ever have a question, you can call in. Okay?
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
I appreciate you coming out.
No problem.
All right, the next item we have under comment is some brave people here from Republic Services. I will preface that with Ann, Todd, and I did have a meeting with some of these gentlemen and others this afternoon. I don't think we missed any words about expressing our disappointment and grave concerns over the performance so far. I don't think anyone here tonight could add anything to what we already said, but they're here to listen if you choose to want to. We noted that they were looking for near perfect performance, starting in a few hours actually. And we're putting these gentlemen up front because they start work very early in the morning, and tomorrow's an important day for them, certainly. We did feel encouraged by the meeting that we had. We believe we should see some almost near perfect results, and we'll know that fairly shortly. So I'm not sure anything you'd like to say before we kind of open it, or if you just want us to see if there's anybody from the public that wants to comment.
Good evening. My name is Jason Hindo. I am one of the ops supervisors for Republic Services. I'm here with two other helpers of ours, Scott Dowdy and Craig Snyder. They're also ops supervisors for Republic Services. I first off want to apologize for the debacle that was last week for our service. We're better than what we showed last week. It was not only disappointing for the community, and disappointing for the customers, it's disappointing on our end as well. Normally when you get a new borough or township to pick up, there are some hiccups along the way as you kind of learn the routes and have people out there doing it. This was more than a hiccup, and we were not only disappointed in our service, obviously from the influx of calls from the community, we saw your disappointment. And on behalf of my supervisors, myself and Republic Services, we do apologize. I can assure you, we will get better. We will improve, and we will be much better tomorrow and Friday, and every week after that. We will be more productive, we will be more efficient, and I can assure you that in time, you will see that we were the right choice for this pit. On that note, myself, Scott, and another supervisor who's not with us today, all three will be down here tomorrow. We have done a job of going over the mats, making sure that we are not missing any new developments or streets that have been built on since the last, I think the last map that we got was from 2015, so we've added some of the roads that weren't there to make sure we aren't being missed. Like I said, the three of us will be down here, we will be traveling the entire township. He's gonna take an area, I'm gonna take an area, and our supervisor's gonna take an area. We added another truck to make sure that we don't have the issue of fuel, that we don't have the issue of packing out and having to leave at a later time and come back, and it's now 2, 3 o'clock and we're just now starting on another load. We have a truck as a reserve to come down here to fuel up some of the trucks that were having fueling issues yesterday, so you can keep working and not have to break off and not be able to come back and finish what was done. So again, I do apologize. I know you expect better. We expect better as a company. We expect better from, as supervisors, we expect better even from our own employees. Like I said, it was a disappointment for everybody around. So I hope you guys accept our apology and have faith in us that we will do better. I can assure you that we will. And we want to be the best that you guys, best to offer, and in the end, you guys know as a community, as the councilman, that you've made the right choice.
Thank you. Well, thank you for coming down. And I thank you for your commitment to this improvement. You mentioned gradual, or somehow gradual improvement. You're going to improve over time. We don't have any time.
Yes.
I mean, there may be a few, count on one hand, lingering situations, but we're not going to let you off the hook that easily.
Yeah, and when I say gradual improvement, that's what I mean. I mean, from what we did last week, there's a mass improvement that we obviously have to do. And we will improve even more on top of that. I mean, if tomorrow is perfect, we will be even more perfect.
More perfect, that's good. We won't set that anymore.
Would you just make a couple comments on the company itself? I mean, you are a very large national company.
Yes.
I think you're in 40 states.
I think that is correct, 40.
And I had a number of about 16,000 trucks that you have on the road. So just so people know, we're not dealing with a fly-by-night company. We're just dealing with a locality that had a lot of problems.
Yes.
Transitioning in our mind just was not prepared.
Yes.
So hopefully that has changed. As Paul said, our patience is short. It's a short fuse. So we are certainly looking to see something very near perfection. They were the words I used this afternoon on the next 2 days. So hopefully we'll do that for us.
Maybe a little bit of incentive. We've had Penways for 6 years, 3 years, 5 years. And actually they gave us very good service, but we had to put this out on bids. The 3rd year was up, so we picked you and them, and they came in, you came in a little bit lower than they did. And then one of the problems we had is people were so satisfied with their service, when you went the other direction, it made it even worse. But they're a competitor of yours. I know you're a competitive person, so just ought to give it more of an inducement to get fired up, okay?
I mean, believe me, we've spent days in the office trying to make sure we're going to get this right this coming Thursday and Friday.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes.
I have a question.
Yes.
I'm Heather Freer at 11 Melody Lane.
Can you come up
Sure.
to the microphone? That way we have it record. It's easier to do our minutes.
Heather Freer from Melody Lane.
Okay.
So I called on Saturday when our trash answer hadn't been picked up. And I'm assuming it's a national number, so she had no idea where I was. Is there like a local number that we could call so that she was like, well, we might be able to get out there Tuesday, which was not acceptable when you have trash pickup 1 day a week and it's a holiday weekend.
Right.
We've had parties and the trash is, I came from Shrewsbury Borough, we had trash pickup twice a week.
Right.
And I have trash once a week, and then you didn't show up. And then you're gonna pick it up Tuesday, and trash day is Thursday again.
Right.
So is there a number that I could call locally to get more of a response?
There's, so the call, when you guys call to a number, it goes to a call center in North Carolina. And after a certain time, if the calls come later, then that call center goes to Indiana, and then later, even later than that, it goes to Arizona. Make sure that we're getting all the call centers. They have a list of all the contracts and how things work, and then they send it to us so that in the morning or that day, our people can look it up and there's what the problem is, where the street is. They send it out to one of us. We call the drivers and say, this stop has been missed, go get it. Do you guys have cards on you?
Yes.
If you want to call any of us directly, we can give you cards, but usually it goes to a call center, which immediately goes to the office, and then that shows on a computer screen. They go from there. We don't have an actual call center in New York office.
Okay, that's all I wanted to know.
Yep.
Thank
And
you.
what's your address, ma'am?
4 Melody Lane.
4.
They're off of Tallinn.
Very good.
Yes. Believe me, we a lot. I know it better than
Well, we saw
my
your truck out there on, I think Saturday, and my husband, I'm like, go run up the street and see if you can hit that. Because our traffic is different.
we were, believe me, I know this township almost better than I know.
Thank you.
Wayne? Jason. Wayne Bryant, 215 Prospect Circle. Jason.
I see.
Hey, Scott. I definitely think they need another opportunity to improve. I would like to address what the previous lady talked about, because I got the call center and eventually got to Arizona. And the lady there told me, first of all, they couldn't find the contract in their database. So is that been rectified?
That should, I believe Andy should.
That was with Andy, I believe
We
talked
discussed
today about
that. Yes, yeah. Just making sure if any disputes with the contract, they were gonna make sure they had it as soon as possible, so if there were any problems, you would have direct answers from it.
Okay. The second issue, she told me, and this was on Saturday, she did answer the call, that someone would return the call within an hour from the local office in York.
Okay,
And you called me on Monday.
okay.
So I know there's miscommunication from your corporate headquarters to here. Hopefully that will improve as well.
Yeah, so, I said, for no excuses purposes, we have a supervisor who's no longer with us. So they give us direct areas that we're involved with. So any complaints that come in, it would go to that direct supervisor, then they make the calls out. So since he's no longer with us, they're kind of being more directed to myself. And if I'm not in the office, depending on when it came in, if I'm not in the office, I won't see it until the next day. So I saw it the next day, hopefully, so I try to get to it as soon as I can the very next day,
Okay.
and then call people out. So they say within the hour. I apologize, I'm not sure why they put a time on to begin with, because usually within the next business day, at least within 24 hours, we definitely try to call out. Let's say within the next hour. I said, I may not be in the office, they may not be in the office, and then we don't get that notice until we're in the office the next day.
That could be a problem if we have issues where pickup is not occurring on a Friday, for instance. I'm not saying that's going to happen, I hope it.
Oh, you mean like if it wasn't picked up on Friday, it would, yeah, I know what you're saying. Usually, Donna is our direct, we have a lady in there who we get direct messages, she gets all direct. So if we're not in the office, she gets everything. And she kind of calls it out right away to one of us and says, hey, this stop is not being picked up. We usually know who is on that route immediately, give them a call and say, hey, this stop was missed, make sure you go back and get it. And we tell them to call us when it's serviced so that we know it was done, instead of just going off of, yeah, I got it, kind of thing.
Thanks, guys.
Yep.
Hope it goes better.
Thank you, I appreciate it. I appreciate it.
They appear to be contrite. Y'all give you insurance, right?
I'm not sure that you guys were there, but I had the same experience with the call center, so you might want to start there with managing expectations, because I called and they said they'd give me a call back in a day or two. 3 days later, I hadn't heard, so I called you back again about
Right.
someone else and said, hey, guys, where's
Did Andy discuss that with you guys about okay. That may be something I have to talk to him about. I don't know
I know
how,
we sent a lengthy email, and I believe you guys copied of it.
Yes, he did. I saw, he sent a
So we have
lengthy
the ball
email.
rolling with the call center and those pickups.
And that email addressed just about everything we talked about. I just.
and they have a lot of people there, so it's not like you'll be put on hold. Usually it goes directly to somebody to get our orders. Yeah.
For what it's worth, I've heard that similar feedback from other municipalities, that the person at the call center center, I think is being, has certain orders about how it's supposed to communicate, how quickly someone's gonna call them back.
Yeah.
And it's just not realistic. I think the business day is a lot more realistic than the hour, so.
And
I've heard that sitting in other municipalities.
And there was a time when the calls came directly to our office, and they gave it to us, and I'll be honest with you, I actually liked it better, because we knew it right away, and since the company has grown and kind of done other things, they've made call centers now, and you're not the only ones who have complaints, we have complaints about the call center, it's a good company sometimes, so. But I do understand your frustration, and like I said, we're going to work to improve and make it better for everybody.
Thank you very much.
Is there anybody else who wishes to address the trash collection issue at this time? All right, we're going to let these gentlemen go because they got to be at work about 5 o'clock in the morning. Maybe you should just start now.
Why you're down here. We do appreciate you coming down. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Is there anybody who wishes to address the board at this time about any other topic?
Thank you. Yeah, appreciate it.
Come on up.
Good evening, David Shaw. I'm actually Railroad Burr, Shrewsbury address. In regards to the ICER development, we bordered on 3 sides, and about, I'm going to say a month and a half, maybe 2 months ago, I went to the codes enforcer about the ongoing weed problem. I kept quiet last year, didn't say anything, and oops, I just left the paper lay back there. But I have the plans, and last year they were supposed to have kept the weeds 4 to 6 inches, and I didn't say anything. They grew up, they went to seed, and now they're 3 to 4 feet. The thistles are blowing as of today, and it's not been touched again. And
Is this in the township?
Yes.
Because the only thing in the township is like the drainage basin, right?
Is that there you're talking about, the
Yes,
basin area?
drainage basin and all in back of my house, because my house is Shrewsbury Township.
Part of the problem with the drainage basins, I don't think they can cut
They can
that.
cut them once a year.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about the drainage basins, I'm talking about the field itself.
That's a wildlife area. I think, are these,
No.
Are you talking about the swale area, it's not the
Just-
basins in your home?
Right. It's just,
I have
it's
to look to see
just
what's
going
this
on.
city, I mean, it's just weeds the whole way down through the valley, all the way down to the farm into Railroad Burr. They came out maybe 2 weeks ago and they chopped the fringes, but according to the plans and what they're supposed to be keeping up with, it says that the second year that it's supposed to be consistently mowed is the first year. Now, anything that has rhizomes, which is all these thistles now that are blowing, it says that they're supposed to be hand treated with herbicide, and that's in their plan. And it also says that the maintenance responsibility is on the developer or the homeowner association. So I don't know where it's falling right now. I don't want to have to be going through this
I'm sure
every
there's
single year.
probably no HOA yet because
Okay.
it's probably, but you can, we'll always
Yeah, I
stop.
stopped in at the codes enforcer today to ask why nothing has been done there and back, because it's gotten so bad now that the nasty Japanese stilt grass has just invaded into my yard, something fierce. From them for doing all the disturbing and not spraying and not keeping it cut down. It all went to seed last year, and I just got Japanese stilt grasses
this is
everywhere.
very persistent
Oh, it's the next noxious weed of Pennsylvania.
over the century. Wait, how soon would they tear that off?
I mean, I'll pull the plans and look and see what's there and then send them over.
Yeah, I'd like to get these, because the thistles now are just blowing my way, and it's just gonna get worse for them. It's a real mess.
Well,
Like I said, I put up with it last year, but now I'm sort of tired of it.
we appreciate your impatience.
Yeah.
We really do.
I mean, when we ordered on 3 sides, there's only so much that you wanna, keep putting up with when they're not
Well-
getting out there with a weed eater, and I am, and I'd like them to
Todd will stay in
maintain it.
touch with you.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else who wishes to address the board at this time?
I'll get up here and just ask a question when I've heard the one supervisor say about
Can you give her your name and
Kevin Shaw,
address, please?
New Freedom, Pennsylvania.
Okay, thank you.
I just was wondering when these meadows or this flower garden is supposed to be established. I was under the impression that this was supposed to be accomplished at some point before this time of day. Right now, that whole entire area, that acreage, is one mass of weeds, and maybe a black-eye Susan every
Once in a while.
50 feet. There's not enough flowers to suppress the weeds that are there. And it's just a mass of mare's tail and every other kind of perennial weed. And like your sister was saying, I have a copy of the engineering step-by-step what they're supposed to be doing. And I mean, it specifically says herbicide treatments, mowing, and they've ignored it for 2 years. And I don't know if it's up to us to just keep monitoring this all the time, or
They have to go, what, 18 months, or what's their time?
I made a note, I'll pull it, we have a developers agreement with them, and we're holding bond money for that to be completed. And at minimum, it's 2 years that they have to complete that. And we're probably on about year 1.
well, I mean, they worked on it last year in 2007. I think these plans were from 2017, I think. Maybe.
Are they,
But anyhow.
were they approved the recorded plans?
These
or
are
just
the ones that the
plans
people
that-
came up and got copies and signed for, so.
Yeah, but is that the date of the plan, or is that the date when it was approved? I think it was just, I don't know if it was approved, time goes by so fast, I don't know if it was 17.
Well, even after approval, there was still a time period before they actually did construction.
I can't imagine, they might have decided to put a culvert someplace else, but the basic seeding and mowing and stuff is probably fairly generic, what they recommend to have done.
But they need to plant some trees, and there's a whole landscaping plan.
Their plan was very specific.
Yeah.
It mentioned a list of all the wildflowers. And we're gonna hold their feet to the fire. This is unacceptable.
Yeah, it's not done yet.
I would like, I mean, I don't know, if Jeff, he knows what a weed looks like, I don't know if he could,
I haven't been over by and seen.
if he could come out and see what I'm talking about. You know,
Something else to keep in mind, that site is still a stormwater management site. It hasn't been converted, yes.
But most of that area is open area.
Right.
Yes.
That they can cut at this point.
Okay, well, you're gonna,
Yeah.
Todd will certainly follow up and we'll.
And just, you know, something else that I'm sure they're gonna have to look into, their large erosion socks, I'm not quite sure the correct term,
I know what you mean, yeah.
they've all been left in place, even though now they do have some grasses and clovers and stuff established. So I was just wondering if they're going to be mandated to clean that up, or they're going to stick out to the homeowners to clean up at some point, or
No, they'll have to clean that up, that's all.
they're going to have to clean it up before they mow. That's what I'm getting at. They just can't go in there and mow and be mowing over top of all that stuff they have hidden in the weeds.
No, that's part of their E&S plan, they can't just tear that out, so.
Well, if you check the recommendations of maintenance and herbicide treatments and mowing, they haven't followed. There hasn't been a mower on that place in 2 years.
But it's a good plan, but they haven't followed it, so it's okay.
Well, the thing is, that's the final, that's, right now, there's sediment and erosion in effect before the development. And that's so not everything is completed yet. But they do have to keep the weeds down this
Yeah.
year, which apparently they haven't done.
That's what we're getting at.
That's what I think the biggest issue is that I'm
Yeah, because I think the plan you have, and I don't know if that's what
That's
we're referring
like
to, does it
the
state
goals
that
and
it's
everything
post-
completed yet.
post-construction stormwater?
And they're not to that.
This is
Right.
just strictly to maintaining the property as all this stuff is being done, and
But they're not to that stage yet.
Right, that's probably in the post-construction stormwater maintenance plan, and I'll pull the plans and see what's there.
So you'll pull the plans, you'll look at it, we'll make sure that we make and do whatever needs to be done. We're holding the money as a bond if we needed to use that. It was actually, all that planning was done by a well-known company. It wasn't done on site, but you got a plan and you got to follow the plan.
yes, I mean, they give fertilizer recommendations
It's a
and,
great plan, but they can't follow what they're
Well, we'll verify where it is and what needs to be done.
Okay,
We share your concern.
bring your gloves along, Jeff, I'll show you where the weeds are at. so.
That's all right.
He's good at that.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you.
I use chemicals.
Anybody else who wishes to address the board at this time?
She already spoke.
She has 2 minutes over 5 minutes.
So I'm Heather Freer, and I'm on Melody Lane, the Whitehaven Preserve community built by Keystone. I came here because we're coming to the closing of and the dedication to that community, and I have a couple of concerns. I know I left a voicemail for you. So on my property, I have the sewage line, and I know that that is Shrewsbury Borough. So they came out last, I'm going to say July or August, maybe even before then, and the sewer cap is below grade. And they said they were going to fine Keystone because it wasn't passing inspection, and it's still below grade. And when it rains, there's water on top of the sewer on the manhole cover. The other thing was that when I talked to the Keystone advisor when I built my house, they said, oh yeah, once all the houses are in, they'll come and do another coat on Melody Lane because it's not a final coat. So I moved in February. They couldn't do my driveway because it's February. And when they came out to do it, there was 2 guys that had 30 years experience with asphalt, and they said, that's not a final coat that's on Melody Lane. It's just a working coat or something along those lines. So on the drive, you can see all the cuts where the water, everything, the cement truck's been going down from building. So what we're hearing is that that's the final coat and we're just going to have to deal with it, which is not acceptable to me because I'm the one that has to pay for that when it's worn down. And also the trash trucks from the borough use our street to turn around because it's right off the line.
Is that a private road?
Yes.
It's in
And then the other concern was that the developer, Charlie, was cutting our sill socks like incognito where nobody could see him, parked on the drive, and then he stopped cutting them once one of us said something to him. So
I think that's been resolved.
that has been resolved, but it was inappropriate, and I shouldn't have to call and complain about that type of thing. And the other thing is that the infiltration trench that should be pumped out because Keystone was dumping all this, cleaning out the cement trucks from the lots, and all of the cement was going into our infiltration trench. And supposedly the White Cells have pictures of this. So these are just concerns that we have as a development that I wanted to address before the bond is released.
And it has not been released, and we haven't considered it yet at this point either.
How many houses are closed in there? Is that
5. 1 existing and 4 Keystone.
So is there an HOA or anything?
No.
Okay.
And the existing house is up for sale.
There are covenants and so forth.
Has there been a final inspection or anything like that?
Jeff was out, but I haven't looked at Jeff's report yet
Okay.
to compare it against the bonding sheet to see if all that matches up.
So you'll do that?
Yeah, that's why I said we haven't released anything, we haven't considered anything.
I just want to make sure that was on your radar before the money was released back, because that's a significant amount of money to have to pay Melody Lane.
Thank you. Yeah, I
Thank
think
you.
just real quick, the infiltration, the vinyl wearing course, the sewer manhole, what was it
So manhole below grade.
for? Yeah, I got that manhole below grade.
Oh, just the socks.
Oh, okay,
It was-
all right, yes, that's my issue. Yeah,
Yes.
okay,
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Anybody else?
Can I just follow up? I have a little bit more info on it. And it's actually good news because it takes away some of the things we talked about. So
If you could just give us your name.
that's right. Ben Butler, 1 Melody Lane.
Thank you.
Todd knows me well. I email him a lot. But So I did work with Charlie and Phil Robinson. We had the stock removed. Volunteers wanted to mulch and recycled, and the stock was removed and leveled, graded, and raked out, and it's completely ready for seed, which is all they're going to do. So that worked out real well. And I also talked to them because they're coming out a lot. They're trying to get the items accomplished. Todd, they're under the impression that they just need to grade away slightly where that sewer manhole cover is because it's at the right height. I guess it's going back and forth with the municipality, Public Works. It's just that when Keystone added fill dirt, it kind of created a bit of a place for water. So they're going to grade away from the south side so that the water doesn't stay there. And they're planning on doing that like this week, I believe. So,
Is that Charlie?
Charlie, yep. Charlie's the main guy. So,
I didn't know if it was Keystone.
I think Keystone graded the houses with amended soils. And so by doing so, they brought in soil and suddenly the manhole cover ended up 6 inches below where it needed to be. So I think that's going to be addressed.
I'll talk to Brian, because more than likely, they probably just want the manhole raised, but.
That,
And if they grade it, then do we have the topsoil requirements that are needed?
Well, the thing is, and I haven't been out there, so I don't know, but unless there's enough slope to just to grade away, it's just gonna make a larger pond in my mind.
I mean, I met with Brian, he came out there and we looked at it together and took pictures, and he was under the impression then that it had to be raised, it had to have a color raised up.
Right.
He just didn't know if it was developers or Keystone, because they're all pointing fingers at each other. Because the developers feel that they put it in correctly to begin with, and it was inspected. Keystone added more dirt.
What happened to the original soil?
The original soil, the houses had to have grading up to the houses with amended soils to keep the runoff. And by adding soil, it added soil around the sewer cover. So the last time I talked to Charlie, he said that he checked into it and that they've gotten permission to grade away part of where it runs downhill so it just doesn't retain water.
Didn't they stockpile the original soil on site?
Supposedly, yeah.
Did they stockpile the original soil?
I think there was a big pile of dirt when they built my house, but then it rained for 3 weeks last year. Another story.
Whatever happened to the big pile of soil?
I wasn't here. I know that there's rumors that sometimes you don't get your topsoil. I mean,
What they try and do, they try and sell
I think Todd told me they were not
it.
selling
They
it.
bring it down.
I don't know about there, but.
No, but some
another-
behind us. It was anyway.
Oh, it's not dirt.
Right.
Dirt is something,
I know.
dirt is something you strip out of your home. Soil is a living organic
Yes.
material.
I have clay, by the way.
And at any rate, we would still do a final inspection
Right, that's all.
ourselves before we would ever release the bond. But it sounds like there is at least some progress.
Yeah, I think Jeff Shue came out and inspected. I talked to him briefly.
Right.
That's what I'm saying, I have his report, but I haven't compared it against
Right.
the actual bonding.
I sent you I found a paving detail, and I was very excited because it has 3 layers, but then I looked at it carefully and it's the entrance pavement. And it's only the first 30 feet. I went out to Tolna, walked back 30 feet, and it's blacktop, and then it stops. And then I have,
And I want to check with Jeff, he made a comment that there's something on the reported plan that only the base course goes back through, but I don't know that, that's why I said
You guys
haven't
know.
brought it to the board for release because I haven't.
we trust you. Whatever you find, the top diagram is typical private street. It's a base course and a binder course, but it's a typical example. And then the specific paving detail for our street with measurements from Tolna is only the first 30 feet off of Tolna. So maybe you're only required to do a top wearing coat for the first 30 feet in.
Yeah, I don't have any answers right
All
now.
right, you're going to check.
We'll get back to you.
Yeah, we trust you. Thank you. Appreciate it.
We're well into our 30 minutes plus for public comments, so I think if there are others, we'll just defer that until our closing public comments at the end of the meeting, so we can we don't have a lot in front of us, so hopefully we can get through that pretty quick and if you still want to address the board, you just hang around and we'll give you another chance as we get toward the end. With that, back to the agenda, I don't believe we have any ordinances, resolutions, or subdivision or land development items to consider. So we are to reports. Yours is the first. If there are any comments you want to...
The only thing I want to mention is I did put in your packets, it's time to start working on the 2020 budget already. So if you have anything that you can bring that back to me by next meeting next month.
Hard to believe we're there already.
Yeah.
Seems like we just did that.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah. The other thing is, just wanted to update you, since the packets went out, we completed the maintenance department. Actually, Tyler, when he was on restricted work duty, he and Mick worked on inventorying all the culverts and the bridges that are on township roads through the county, CS Davidson, their CS Davidson program, which we have a lot of different layers on. And in particular, I was able to generate a report, as you know, but that report wasn't really clear on the location. So our summer intern's been working on that in-house here, and just to give you an idea here, he just started working on the culvert inventory now, but if you remember, we had a lot of these that were not specified.
Right.
He's now putting the name of the road on which it's located, and if it's near a property or a home with a street address, that's what the number represents. If he has one that's, for example, like Gemmel Road in Cooper or something, he's going to show, like in parentheses, Gemmel Road if it's the closest intersection. So just to let you know that that was Anthony that's been working on that. And he did finish up the bridge. So if you remember, there were a lot of no names over here.
Right.
And he has the bridges pretty much all done here now. So you can see. And if there's multiple on one road, he's identifying them, like with the street here, and then 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever, here's intersection West Sealand. So, and that information comes from, I just want to show you here quickly, give you an idea. The bridge and culvert's basically set up the same way. But for example, this is the layer for bridges, and if you click on that one, this is actually Thompson Road. And then go over here to view details. This is where we give it our bridge number, but then that's where that bridge name goes through that Anthony's adding. And then and we'll probably, as time goes on, expand upon this a little further, particularly the winter months when things are slower and we can get a little better photographs with the vegetation gone. But we're putting like the length, the width of the bridge. I want to go back, some we have done, but we want to put the vertical clearance, which is from the top of the water's flow to the other side of the bridge. So we know what kind of clearance we have underneath there. They're putting the type of material, and probably the most important thing that we're looking at in that spreadsheet is the condition. And this one is critical, and we know that we
determines
need...
the condition. Is that an us determination, or is that
That's an us.
an engineer determination?
No, that is our determination. And for example, if you...
Mostly Mike?
No, it's Tyler. We went out, Mike and I went out with Tyler and Mick and went through a couple of...
So it should be consistent because one person's done.
Yeah, it's the two of them working together, did all this. So, but to give you an idea here, I don't know if I can get that a little better, you can see.
As you do that, just a matter of interest, and I think there was still more to be added, but at the last count, it was 75 bridges and 105 culverts, and I know there was
We
more.
did not add yet, because I told them we can go back and do that later.
But it's
in new developments like Russet Farms, where we know they're still in good shape and so forth.
It's a significant number,
Yeah.
that's a lot.
I mean, it's a good way for us to keep an inventory, but also allow us to do immediate long-term budgeting, so we can kind of do a forecast to see what kind of bridge and culvert work we're up to do. But one reason this is critical, you can kind of see the bottom of the pipe is now flat. And we can zoom in here, you can see part of that's actually rusted away and it's split up the middle there. So that's what they've been working on, and that's what this inventory is. And like I said, the most important thing is we extended upon the location.
A lot of good information, helps us.
And the reports provide a lot more detail than this, but it becomes a very wide spreadsheet, so I deleted some of that. But as you can see, we can actually do the coordinates, so we can, if you're
I think very well
want to get out there with your geocaching.
Very well done, a very useful,
So,
useful tool.
Yes, it is.
so I just want to let you know what that does, because as you know, the maps, just real quickly, I'll just take another minute or two here. Just so you're, but this is where, if you recall, this is the same program. Let me get that a little better. This shows you like the fire hydrant assessment.
Right.
Every parcel that receives the fire hydrant assessment is within 780 feet. This is one of the layers that we have that shows the parcels that are affected by that assessment. And we can actually see that additional blue came up, so we can actually, let me turn this layer off. So you can actually see where each and every hydrant is located in the township as well. We have them down in the Shrewsbury area, and then we have them up around Glen Rock as well. So, of course, we show streams, subdivision plans, the wellhead zone, protection zone, road boundaries, and so forth. So, we keep adding to this. Okay. Two other things I have is I want to ask the board for authorization to close the office now on Wednesday, October 9th, to allow for a staff training, maintenance and the office staff for first aid and CPR, which is an all-day training. And I'm asking early so that we can get that publicized.
So moved.
Second.
Yes, sir.
A motion and a second. Let's vote.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. 4 votes to the affirmative. So
Thank you.
we're good with that.
On a related note, did you find anything out about the AEDs?
I did.
I think you have that later on.
I do have that, but we can address that now if you'd like.
Doesn't matter. I just thought since we were there.
Just as a comment that
It kind of ties together, so we can keep it all together.
this training is also available, I think, to supervisors, should anybody want to participate in that. Okay.
Ann raised a question, I'll bring that up later. We have an AED unit here now, but it's very dated, and we have none at the maintenance facility. I'm getting prices, they're supposed to show up, one tomorrow, the other one on Friday, but both of them are under state contract. And the one proposal is, he didn't have an exact number, but he's thinking right around $2,800, and that's for 2 of them.
That's for 2.
Yeah, and that would include the pediatric pads. I know you wouldn't necessarily need those at the maintenance facility, but
You never know.
Yeah.
When their kids here when they vote.
and they're the wall mount. They include the response kit, you know, the gloves, the mask, and all of that. So I would ask the board for authorization just to make sure we're covered, not to exceed 3,000. But I don't think it'll be more than about 2,700.
Includes the masks, which aren't recommended in CPR anymore. They should just throw those in at this point.
Well, the barrier, I should say the barrier, not the mask.
Right, so the breathing is not required with CPR anymore, so.
I'm sure that'll change again. Just just like milk's good for you, milk's not, eggs are good for you.
I don't think that's gonna change.
So, but it has a clean solution, and, yeah, I mean, that's just part of it.
I would make a motion to proceed with the purchase, mulch not exceeding 3,000.
Second?
Further questions or comments? Is there any training with that? Can you get that training, something included, even if it's by somebody here in the October course?
That will be part of the CPR training.
So people aren't afraid of it
Yeah.
and stay away from it because they don't know quite what to do with it. Okay. All right, we shall vote that.
They talk to you, so they tell you step by step.
Okay. Yes, I know they do. It just, if you haven't been through that, it just might be a little.
Right, I understand, but that is part of the CPR training.
Aye. Aye. 4 votes to the affirmative, so we're going to clearly move forward with those.
And last item I have for public services to transition, we discussed all that, I don't think we need to
Not at all.
elaborate on that, but I do want to add something in conjunction with that. For anyone that still has a pen waste recycling bin, we ask that you have it curbside on Saturday morning, this Saturday the 13th, by 6 a.m., because I don't know how early they'll be out, but they could be out as early as 6 a.m. And we ask that it's empty, so if you have anything transferred into your Republic bin, they are going to be down all day on Saturday the 13th to collect those. I believe about 2,500. They still have about 1,000 that are out there in the township.
Not me, one of my neighbors.
No, but they're hoping to get all of them Saturday, but if they do not, they will be back the following Saturday. They just don't have the manpower to get out through the week. So I'm going to put something on our website, on Facebook, and you know, if anyone can spread the word to any of your neighbors or whatever, I'd appreciate that. So.
As well as if there are any ongoing issues with Republic, please let us know as
Yeah.
well.
When is Republic getting the rest of the recycle bins out?
I'm going to email them tomorrow morning, and he indicated, Scott, that they would get those out tomorrow.
Okay.
And I had yours on.
Well, I was just wondering,
Yeah.
I didn't think about it.
Yeah.
Too late now.
Anything else?
That's all I have.
Any questions anybody has for Todd? We'll move on to,
I do have a question that may be coming down, excuse me, Art. You just handed out a flyer, wait till later on this, right to know request. You want to bring it up now or later?
what you have a question?
Oh, that was just not attached to your, but if you have a question,
Now's the time.
Yep.
We have seen this word called amended soils. And the developer is supposed to stockpile all this topsoil, right down to the subsoil, stockpile on site until we just bring it back on the areas that are going to be left natural, right? When can they use amended soils? I mean, if they have enough for 9 inches, which is the minimum required, can they sell the rest of it?
if they apply the 9 that's required, I think by our ordinance they can, provided they meet.
The 9 inches?
Yeah, they're just not supposed to do it until after they've met that requirement. They're supposed to stockpile on site until they.
When can they use amended soils? Dollar General had a very rich site of topsoil, beautiful stuff, and they got rid of most of it, and they wanted amended soils, which I find to be very upsetting. Couldn't sleep for a week after that.
I thought it would be 2 weeks, so.
Well, I'm getting better at this game, but why are they allowed, see, they can sell the original topsoil and get a lot of money. Amended soils, I understand, it costs less. They can replace it with amended soils and save money. Although they're not as good, I suspect. So what's our policy on that?
Well, they're not allowed to sell, they're not allowed to remove it. The thing is, we need everyone's eyes and ears to let us know when that's happening. As you know, down on Campbell Road, we just had an incident with Keystone, with the Parish Farm subdivision. We learned that they were hauling topsoil out. Fortunately, it was caught early, in the day they started to do it. But really, that was just by coincidence that we learned about it because we received a phone call from a resident as well as from Southern Regional Police because the trucks were all lined up on Campbell Road waiting to get in there. So I called the foreman on the site who was doing the site work, which is, I'm trying to think of the name of the York Excavating, I forget who it was, but anyway, I talked to that foreman and I asked him, what was going on, and he said, well, they're hauling topsoil out, and I said, oh, so we have a problem. He said, it's not us, it's Keystone, we don't have anything to do with it. So I asked him, and he was very helpful, because I asked him if he could go tell them they need to stop, and there's a violation, and so forth and so forth. So it did stop, but it's one of those things, we don't know what their day-to-day schedule is.
We have a pre-construction meeting.
Pardon?
We have a pre-construction meeting as far as earth moving or?
We did there, yes.
Do we normally have it even on a minor subdivision?
Minor if it's 4 or 5 lots, typically not. Typically not. Because usually what drives it is York County Conservation District.
But we're here, it's our township. They're a good backup, but we should drive these things. We should have a system set up so this doesn't happen.
Yeah. Well, but the thing is, that's a large site. They work there for weeks and weeks, and unless we have the manpower to devote to go down there every few hours and monitor it, it's tough with the manpower that we have to keep a constant eye on it. So we do rely on other eyes and ears to keep us aware.
They bought the land from the subdivider.
Correct.
And so they're going to start building houses. So at that point, we're going to take all of our site work that we approved and go over with them all once. And have it.
But see, in this particular case, they were installing the infrastructure, the roads, the sewers, the water mains before they ever came in for any house permits. They still haven't even applied for any.
But as soon as we know that, in this case, Mr. Denai has sold it to, whoever he sold it to, can't we just touch base with them and tell them this is what's...
Well, we did. I attended that site meeting. We went over all of that.
That's what I'm talking about, site meeting.
Yeah. We went over all of that stuff with topsoil. I made it very clear about the CEA.
Right.
But again, and I'm not making excuses, it's just reality. You have a real large corporation like Keystone, and you have one person that attends that site meeting before they start construction, and then you have 2 other 3 people come in later. I'm not saying it's right or it's justifiable, but it's a challenge.
Can we shut the job down?
You could, if they're in violation, particularly like if they're hauling topsoil out or something, if they continued and ignored us, yeah, you can. But they immediately stopped.
I know, but it's not my job.
And Keith has done that before.
You want to share any of your experience with us, that's fine too, but I don't like these issues we found all the time. And I know in spite of your best efforts, we still have issues. Is there a foolproof way to handle these things?
If there was, you wouldn't be having the problems. It sounds like you're doing all the things that I would say to do. That's a difficulty of enforcing any ordinance, whether it's, subdivision and land development or zoning or nuisance, whatever it may be. You can't be everywhere all the time. It's an age-old problem, but it's particularly troubling when it happens on that kind of scale. But stop work orders are really effective if they're doing something that's a violation.
They can be applied in many different situations, the stop work order.
Yeah, they can be applied for really any kind of plan violation or stormwater ordinance violation, or you can say you gotta stop what you're doing here until you correct that.
The final thought is, if the development industry or the subdivision industry, if word gets around that don't develop in Shrewsbury Township, I hope it doesn't go that far, but if you love Shrewsbury Township, you better do it right because they'll shut you down. I mean, that's when you're effective, when that word gets out over a period of time. That, you know, just do what you're told to do what you agreed to do, rather. Thank you.
What's the process for getting a stop work order? I mean, how long does that take?
Yeah, it's key to go out and make an inspection and immediately send something. And I call it a stop work order, people might call it something else, but.
But it doesn't require a legal maneuvering.
No, it's about your code enforcement officer.
Yeah, Keith has that now. Okay.
Would you relate to Todd, to Keith, our conversation?
Sure.
Thank you.
All right, anything else with Todd's reports? We always give the solicitor an opportunity, but I think you're doing pretty well so far.
I'm very happy to be with you here this evening, since we haven't had a planning commission meeting lately, so a good reason to come down here. And as you see on the agenda, there's no kind of break report, but I'm happy to answer any questions or concerns that you have.
And you've been going out, so you've been going, so thank you very much for being here. Any questions to the solicitor in general?
Not this time.
Any questions on the engineer's report? On the maintenance report? It is now showing projects out over time, so I think that's a nice improvement to that report. So thank you for doing that. Questions on it at all? Any questions on the zoning code enforcement report?
Any updates, Scott? Like July 1 things?
Yeah, the only thing, let's see here.
A lot have been closed, so that's certainly good.
Yeah, we still have an ongoing problem with the Mitchell property on Deer Creek. However, he has paid his fines in full as of yesterday.
But hasn't fixed the problem.
No. I don't think here, no, I don't think there's any updates. I was going to try to get out and look at it between Monday and today, but other things came into play.
Any specific questions? Next would be our emergency management, but Stan, who is our EMC coordinator, is also on the board of Shrewsbury Borough, who meets tonight since we had to delay our meeting one night, so I didn't expect to see Stan tonight. Any questions on the planning commission and zoning hearing board?
I'd like to make a remark to the audience. Yesterday we got a early plan in for a Church of Latter-day Saints on Campbell Road, and so that's something that's going to be put there in time. I think we have a Mormon church or Latter-day Saints, then we have a Baptist church, a Catholic church. We have a lot of churches, so anyways, just add another one.
All right, we are to the section for supervisors' comments. I might start with just one or two. One, I think, be remiss if you didn't say thanks to Todd. I think he's done an outstanding job trying to keep up with a lot of activity regarding refuse collection. Much of that was giving up his holiday and his weekend, but I think he was pretty effective in trying to get back to people who contacted us and doing a lot of coordinating with Republic Services. So thank you. That's kind of above and beyond the call of duty, and we appreciate that.
Thank you.
While we encourage people to participate and be part of our meetings, reality is the smaller the audience, the better the job the board's doing. So.
True too. And as you all know, we did have someone's meeting with Republic. That's all I had. Comments from others?
Yeah, I have a few things. As you said, a few meetings in the past month, the trash meeting today. We all have been working, you, myself, and Todd have been working on the dress code meeting and bringing that to closure to try to update some personnel and policy issues. There was a request from Tony Myers, who doesn't appear to be here tonight, for us to help at the Shrewsbury Carnival. And I actually participated in that. It was a nice night. I had some on and off rain. I was there Saturday helping with the food stand, but it's something that I think we should probably do more of, and something that I would encourage you all to get involved with. I mean, I've lived in this community. It's where I grew up, so I've always been here, and I've never been asked to help, frankly. I don't really have any direct ties to the town, or to the carnival or the fire company per se, but it's a good activity to get involved with. It helps the fire company do what they do to help all of us. Last week, there was a meeting on July 2nd with Congressman Smucker that I was able to attend. Was able to, as many of you may remember, over the last last year and a half, we had a lot of flooding issues with nearly $1 million in damages because most of our area of Pennsylvania didn't qualify. We didn't get any FEMA funding for that, so that nearly $1 million is all on us to repair. So had an opportunity to pick his brain a little bit and maybe get some funding sources for grants for us to try to help cover some of those costs.
Yeah, I agree. Unfortunately, I already had plans and could not help at the carnival, and apparently the borough has had a tradition of helping one night a week at the carnivals. I think Tony was saying, could you guys participate in that? Which I do think is a good idea, and I did get back to him and explain that. One thing that would be helpful was a very short notice. So if we could get the date now for when the next one is, and I'm sure they know. So maybe in some contact with them and Todd, they could give us next year's date. We could try to mark that, but it does give us a chance. And according to Ann, the help was desperately needed. They were pretty short on help. So, and thank you for doing that. Appreciate it. Anybody else? Comments? All right, we will move on to old business. I guess Line Road, Todd, I can do a little bit of an update. The bridges on Line Road, as Chad knows, have been going on for a long time. It's a very major expense of two bridges shared by us and North Hopewell Township. They sort of wanted to take the lead, and we're going out with their engineer and trying to get quotes and get information together. I spoke with their chair today before our meeting, since he had not gotten back to me, but he did answer my call very quickly. And their engineer, Jason, unfortunately has been hospitalized, and I guess will be unable to do much for the next couple of months. But supposedly he did get an opportunity to have cost almost updated and thinks he can finish that in a week. So if he does, we're giving him that opportunity to do comparative cost with the bridge and the culvert, two different methods to accomplish those bridges. At that point, Jason is also supposed to let them know whether he feels there's any way he can quickly move this product forward. If not, it's my understanding they will have us take the lead. It's also my understanding we will probably look at taking that lead if they don't show progress toward that, and I've had that discussion with them. So essentially, let's say we're giving them what we say a week, but I guess we're giving them to the next board meeting when you look at how that process would work. He did tell me that their preference, as we always know, is the bridge. But he also said we're not going to let that stand in the way. We know you prefer the culvert, and if you insist on that, we'll move forward your way if we need to. So, Chad, you were at their meeting. Is that essentially what you got out of it?
Chad Myers, 1120 Line Road. Yeah, essentially that's what I got out of it. But my understanding there was he did, amongst the board and himself, he did discuss the type of bridge that they prefer to build. He thought he had most of the numbers and was throwing out a number of $225,000. So
he was waiting for a number on the culvert, which they think will be about 10% cheaper, and they may be looking at a more expensive culvert than we would look at based on our conversations with them. So once we get those numbers, we can do our own assessment and decide if we kind of concur with them.
Did you say that you're expecting the culvert to be cheaper?
That's what Rob told me. That's what we expect too.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah, I know last time we did it, they were pretty close in cost.
They were close, but the culvert was a little cheaper. He told me he thought it would come in about 10% less, but until we see the numbers, we don't know.
Culvert is a better solution, is it not?
That's what I remember.
Depends on who you talk to.
For those that are wondering, when we're talking about culverts and bridges, when we're talking about a culvert, we're talking about a precast four-sided box that's manufactured off premises, brought in, dropped in place with a crane and pulled together with cable and so forth. When they talk about a bridge, they're talking, they call it a GRS bridge, and basically, it's, I refer to it as the large landscaping blocks that they build for the walls, and then it has metal and wood decking, I-beam and wood decking across it. North Hopewell is looking to do, they prefer the stack block and the wood decking. Our board prefers the precast concrete box with the precast wing walls and asphalt surface over top of it. Because with the decking and the iron beams, you got to maintain those, paint and seal the beams and replace them every probably 10, 15 years or something. So.
Plus the concern is that angle and everything.
Yeah, the other concern is they pin them and pour concrete in them now, I think. But also Lime Road, it's a deep valley and there's a lot of wood, so you get a lot of debris that goes down through there. And at least with the concrete box, if something gets in there, it has smooth sides and a top that will probably flow through a little quicker, whereas with the decking, you have the beams across and it has a little better chance of getting things lodged in there, so.
With either one of these, it's important to understand that when we set just a culvert pipe, migratory fish had a hard time getting up and down the stream, particularly when the water was low in the stream. But these, there's a natural bottom at the bottom of the bridge in the box culvert, so the fish can get up and down. Some of these are native trout streams in your area.
There are wild trout there. I don't know if I'd say there's any native brook trout, but I can attest that
They're
there's
brown
wild
trout.
brown trout.
They're brown trout, yeah.
Wild brown trout.
So that'd be good. All right. Thank you.
So if we get some information next week, is there a way that we can move this forward?
Well, I think once we have that information, we would ask Jeff, I think, to kind of do a scrutiny of that information and to have some information available for us by the next meeting.
Right. Right, I just didn't want us to wait until
No,
next meeting to make the next step.
No, I think it's critical that Jeff look at it. You'll have a sense of, what numbers occurs with those numbers, and as we know, he prefers the box culvert. And that's the one I showed you, just a box culvert, not a round culvert pipe.
I think mostly Jeff is our engineer. He served us very well.
I was in attendance at their meeting, and it was very clear that at least Jason Snyder's position is I call it the Lego block and Lincoln Hall Bridge, but that type of structure. And I did specifically ask him about the longevity of one versus the other, and his quote to me was they're both good for 50 years. But I would be interested to know what CSD is.
You're going to do some work on that bridge, it's going to last 50 years. A lot of maintenance is going to be done.
So I think that's something the township needs to address with their engineer.
No, we looked at that before, that was an issue. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks, I appreciate your input. All right, I guess, Todd, you want to kind of lead us through this? I don't think we need to go through them, but just in general, the Saldo amendments, I think we're...
With the subdivision and land development ordinance, we refer to it as Saldo. There's several amendments. Quite a few of them involve definitions, not necessarily adding or deleting definitions, but adding clarity to those definitions that have come up and been an issue in the past. The other sections had to do with clarification of recreation fees that we collect under the municipality's planning code. You had to use those funds from developers toward recreation projects within 3 years, but the legislature changed that, so we amended our ordinance to reflect that as well. You often have heard us, if you attend meetings with subdivision land development, we talk about waiver requests to requirements to the SALDO. We're changing that language from waiver to modification, that term, so that it coincides with the municipality's planning code. Then some other things we just got into is just clarifying some minimum parking requirements. We removed the critical environmental area reference out of the subdivision ordinance because that's more clearly defined in our zoning ordinance, and the zoning ordinance has a little more teeth to it than the SALDO. And again, definitions, that pretty much sums it up. It wasn't a lot. Like I said, it wasn't to change the intent or the context of the ordinance, but just it was more for clarity. Yeah. So this has gone through the board, it's gone through the Township Planning Commission, and it's gone through the York County Planning Commission as well. And all have recommended approval of what's been presented and proposed. So the purpose of it being before the board tonight is if they're comfortable with this, they're going to advertise, authorize an ordinance to be advertised for formal adoption at next month's meeting.
And I will make a motion that we authorize that advertisement. I'll second it. A motion and a second. Comments or questions?
Aye.
Aye.
Fine.
Aye. 4 votes to the affirmative.
Chairman, that's a related question. Our comprehensive plan is due to be revised. Where are we with that?
Well, that's scheduled for 2020, next year. But we can't really move forward until we get notification from the York County Planning Commission because we received $20,000 in community development block grant funding. It's a matching grant to do that update of our comp plan. So it's probably not, I don't know when those come out, probably January or February we get notification, but.
What would probably help is it's a pretty lengthy plan. You know, I haven't had it electronically, but somewhere along the line we're going to need hard copies. And actually, whether that's the board or some committee, because we do it with the other.
Yeah, typically, and we'll have to meet with the Southern York County Planning Commission. Has worked on that plan in the past. And that consists of Shrewsbury Township, Shrewsbury Borough, Glen Rock Borough, and Railroad Borough. So we had a joint comprehensive plan for municipalities. So we'll work on that to get it together. So, but to answer Paul's question, there's been no movement at this point because the funding is all slated for next year, 2020.
It's not far away.
No.
This group, these 4 local governments, we're hiring probably a professional.
Yeah, we'll have to go out for requests for proposals for a consultant to work with us.
York County Planning Commission did our last one. I thought they did a good job.
Yeah.
That was the last one. This is the new one.
I don't believe they no longer do that.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. So I think you probably. Do we want to? We had a meeting today where we discussed the personal and safety manual. I think there's a little tweaking left.
Can I make just one comment under old business?
Please, go ahead.
Because I know there's some folks that are here. Regarding Thompson Road and Cloverdale Avenue, we haven't really done anything in the last month because we made a request to LTAP to conduct a traffic study.
Right.
Which will be actually, the purpose of the traffic study is for us to get a count as to the number of vehicles that use those 2 roads. So it's a no-cost service to us through PennDOT. So we have to wait for their availabilities. Depending how busy they are, they move pretty fast. Sometimes, we're on the list. So I'm still waiting to hear from them, but the request has been made.
All right, appreciate the update.
Thank you.
Okay. From our meeting today, I'm not quite sure we're ready at this moment to move forward with Ann.
I think we probably are. Yeah, we can have a little bit of a discussion. I don't think we have any huge sticking points.
Okay.
Do you have any specific concerns that you wanted to?
No, I thought there was something you were.
Well, I didn't know if you wanted to wait until we get like the respiratory language or.
That's fine.
I mean, it's up to you.
That's fine. If you
I'm
want to be like
comfortable either.
consistent, that's fine. We can wait.
Yeah. I prefer if you want to table it for a month, just because we've talked about this and there's 2 or 3 things we want to maybe clarify or add, so it'd probably be better that we act on it all at one time.
So let's table that till next month then.
Okay.
All right, the next few are yours, I think.
Okay, first thing is we purchased a 2018 when we bought it. 2018, it was just delivered 6 weeks ago. It's a crew cab, short bed Dodge 350, which replaces Mike's, our maintenance foreman's pickup truck, which was a 2006 Ford F350. So we're going to put that up for sale by sealed bids, but need authorization from the board for us to move forward with that. And then hopefully we'll have a bid opening and a bids to present to you at the August meeting.
I make a motion that we authorize sale of the 2006 pickup truck.
Yeah. I'll second it.
Motion and second. Questions? Roll vote.
Aye.
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 4 votes to the affirmative. Yes, we'll be selling the truck. We already took care of the 2 ADT units, so I guess the next couple were yours too, Todd.
Yeah, the next one, again, a few months ago, I had mentioned to you that once the truck's delivered and so forth, that we'd be coming back to request authorization to purchase a tool cap for the new pickup truck. And again, this is a short bed. I provided the board with some photographs of it. It's a cap, but it has the side entry tool bins, as well as the rear entry, and then the rack for carrying ladders and pipes and what have you. And the price on that is $2,953.
I'll make a motion to purchase that.
Does this lock, Tom?
Pardon?
Does these lock?
Yes. Yes.
And he's planning on carrying tools with him?
Yeah, he does now. The truck he has now has a tool bed. More, you've probably seen it more with general contractors, where it's the bed and it has the toolboxes on the side. So he does have tools now.
I'll second Jeff's motion, but the question I did have is this all like a pre-approved supplier's pricing, or are we tacking on to something here?
I don't see a state contract number.
But at the dollar value, we're not required to.
Correct, anything under 10,000,
Okay.
you don't need any
All right.
other quotes, so.
Further questions? All vote.
Aye.
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 4 votes to the affirmative. By Cassie's toolboxes.
And the next item is the 9.5 Fisher V-blade plow, which would also be used on that same vehicle. That price is $7,870, and that's from Douglas Equipment, which is, you're probably familiar with it, right up here at the Loganville exit. See it way down over the side there. And again, that's for the new pickup truck.
Now, we did not plow with a pickup truck.
In the past, we have not, that's correct.
And this truck is equipped with the transmission and all that you need to be able to plow.
And this will be used more for like the smaller lots, like here, the maintenance facility, but also Mike's hoping to use it more in the cul-de-sacs, because anyone that ever plowed, even with a pickup truck, cul-de-sac it's kind of tough to do a circle with a big piece of it.
Are we selling anything in return? Is there any trade-in with any of these 4 pieces of equipment?
Not other than the truck.
Which we're selling.
So we're gonna sell that?
The 2006, yes.
Which has no plow or, that just has toolboxes now, it doesn't have a cab at all.
I'm gonna ask me a question. If we sell something like a used truck like this, and we know we have its value known to us, and checking around, if we decide to sell it for less, what is our fiduciary responsibility to sell it for the actual value and not a lesser value?
Well, there's a dollar threshold that would require you to sell it publicly the way that you're selling it, and so you let the market drive it. So you sell it for the highest bid.
You're covered.
And you could keep a reserve price, but you're covered if you're selling it for the highest bid.
And our advertisement does include the language where the board has the right to reject any and all bids. You feel it's just extremely, because I mean, there is a potential that, just using an arbitrary number, say it's worth $10,000, you believe, and you receive one bid for $2,500, you have the right to reject that bid.
Right.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, and it's more of a reasonableness standard there, whether or not you're breaching a fiduciary duty. But if you get any, if you use that sort of projection, to, in an appropriate way, and if you get any sort of multiple bids, you're safe. Yeah. The market is okay.
Okay. Is there a motion regarding the plow?
I'll make a motion to purchase the plow.
I'll second. Questions or comments?
Excuse me. Aye.
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 4 votes to the affirmative. We now have an extra snow moving vehicle.
We don't expect there any more snow in Shrewsbury Township to address the climate change. But if by chance, if you can just, we're all set for it.
Yeah, well, I'll provide that information to the board. I mean, because it's by sealed bid, so we don't put a price in. Yeah. Next item, if I could, the development rate verification, I'm going to ask for just to table that because I need another piece of information from the owner that I did not receive, so I hope to have that back in time for next month.
All right, then we have 2 trash waivers. You're recommending that we approve both of those.
Correct.
And I don't see any reason why we shouldn't, so I would make a motion that we approve the 2 trash waivers that are set forth.
Second.
Of a motion, 2 seconds, so that's good. So we'll vote.
And it's so soft spoken. Was that you that made the motion? It was Ann, everybody. Give her credit.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. 4 votes to the affirmative, so they are approved. You have one other item you want to add in there?
Yeah, I have one item of new business that was emailed to me by our engineers, C.S. Davidson, Jeff Shue's office. As you know, we've had multiple bridges that were washed out, flood damage, some are open, but Baltimore Street Bridge right at Walker Road, that was one that had a lot of scouring and undermining of the bridge abutments. And that's one of the bridges that is inspected by the county through PennDOT. And that bridge was inspected, as you know, because I think I provided a report a month or 2 ago. But that's one that they consider critical and we need to address within 6 months. So C.S. Davidson did put this out for bid to do that repair work. And they do have 2 bids here. Mar Allen Concrete Products at $75,573, and JVI Group Incorporated at $76,890. their recommendation is the low bid.
Do we have experience with either or both of them?
I'm not familiar with either one of them, but the email from his office is that they do recommend the low bid.
Did they give us an estimate, CS Davidson, on what they thought it would run?
They had it broke out in different, the unit prices are different than what they anticipated, but the total price is right in the area of the.
Well, even the unit prices of LEDs, as much difference as there is in the unit prices, they're pretty doggone close.
Yeah, right, yeah. But in their budget, their unit prices were a little different than what these were, but the
They're
total
in line
price
with
is
their
line.
Baltimore Street and Walker Road, where exactly is that? I should know.
If you're coming from the high school, come down to Pleasant Valley Road, going in toward Glen Rock, it's the shortcut that cuts off over the site.
Right, okay, I know.
Yeah.
It's on the south end of the door.
Didn't we just redo that one for the same thing about 4 or 5 years ago?
Yes.
Yes, Tropical Storm Lee in 2011.
Yeah.
But it is the county's inspection that says, hey, you got a failing bridge and you got.
Yeah, we have to repair it or we're gonna have to close the road. And it does need repaired, that was on the list.
I know it's been on. They said that, we got it.
Is that part of the $900,000? It's not, is it?
Yes, it is.
It is.
Yeah, that's in there. I'll make a motion that we proceed with an award to Mar Allen Concrete at the price quoted.
I'll second that.
That's the entire job.
Correct.
Yes. $75,573.
And it's a box culvert kind of thing?
No, the bridge is existing, this is to repair what's there, because it's already a poured concrete, so it's under the water. If you go down and look at it, you're not gonna see the damage. It's kind of like Walker, how that undermined under the poured concrete underwater.
We have a motion and a second. Any other questions? We'll vote.
Aye.
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 4 votes to the affirmative, so that award is approved. We have a couple pieces of correspondence. I don't know if you have any questions on any correspondence. If not, we have a opportunity for closing public comment. Anybody who wishes to address the board? Yes, sir. Yeah.
I would just, I'll get up there. Kevin Shaw, looking for you. I was thinking about your earlier comment about the weeds, and I was just wondering how an engineering recommendation supersedes an established township ordinance about mowing and weed control, which I'm sure supervisors have voted on. So it's an established.
It doesn't supersede it. We're just, they're our inspection to be.
Right, so I was under the impression that they were going to look at and review and see if they really had to mow or weed or whatever. When the more I thought about it, I thought, that's not up to them to decide. It's, the township already has that on their books.
Well, we assign them to do that inspection. Yes, it is up to them.
Okay, well, that's just what I was wondering that,
What we have to look at is, for example, the DAC basin down at Miller Park. You can only mow that once a year. And that vegetation gets much higher than the 6 to 8 inches under our weed ordinance. But the DEP in York County Conservation District, when it comes to DEP and stormwater management, that takes precedence over our local ordinances.
okay.
And that's what I was referring to. I just need to look at the plans, because I don't know if they're post-construction. I need to look at those. I'm not gonna, I can't sit here and tell you that it's.
Yeah, well, these weeds aren't in the retention base. This is in the bulk of the property. You know, it's well away from any stormwater management, that they've just made no effort to follow the township ordinance.
And that's what we said, we'll take a look at it.
Okay, that's what I was thinking about.
Thanks, Kevin.
Okay. Anybody else? Who did the order? Last call, is there a motion?
Motion to adjourn.
are adjourned. Thank you all for coming out. We appreciate you staying through the meeting and wish our trash collectors well.